Alright, Flash Masters, we're going to jump into week 3, day 2, which is our lesson 10. Let's get into it. So make sure you're checking into the remote office hours, 10:30 to 11 a.m., 1:14 to 1:44 p.m. We're always going over what you need to do for the lessons. We're always going over any questions you may have. It's the easiest way to pass, get that easy A. Join us on those sessions and you cannot go wrong. All right, let's jump into it. So if you're following along, you want to jump into these slides for Blackbeard's Bootcamp, lesson 10. Let's go. So before we get into the content, I want to correct something from yesterday's Ed Puzzle video. It said for range 2 to 6, what numbers will be included in the range. The correct answer was actually 2 to 5. I don't know how I messed it up, but somehow I did to make it 3 to 5. It's actually 2 to 5 because 2 is the first number. Thank you to Kayla who shouted that, who actually brought that to my attention. Appreciate it. All right. Remember, this week's goals is that students will be able to read simple functions, calculate the output of functions with various input, and write simple functions that require arguments. You're going to get a lot of practice with that today. So here is a function. It says def, say hi, print hi. As always, we're going to break it down. We're going to look at this into two parts. In the yellow, we define the function. In the purple, we ask or we tell them what the function actually does. Essential knowledge here. Def, the keyword is used to create or define a function, and then say hi is the function's name. Now, as you know that, we can create a simple function with the keyword and the name, and now we're going to look at some common misconceptions. So after that colon, everything that is quote unquote inside of the function is indented. I know some people got that wrong on the other assignment today, so I wanted to make sure that was very, very clear, especially for a for loop or a while loop. You'll know it's inside of those loops because the following code after the colon is indented. And as a quick little check for understanding, how many times will sup print? Gotta admit that was a bit of a trick question because defining the function is not enough. You must also call the function if you want to use it. You can call the function by typing the name followed by parentheses. So for our say hi function right here, if we want to, here we go, say hi. If we want to actually use the function and get it to say hi, we have to call it by using these parentheses after the function name. So let's try that again. How many times will sup print? Okay, let's look at how to read it and the output. So I defined a function, and remember that def is the keyword for defining a function, named say hi, and for my output, whenever I call the function, it's just going to print hi. So we're going to shift gears and start talking about arguments. So you may hear me actually use the word argument or parameters. Both of those are essentially the same thing, and I will most likely be using them interchangeably without even paying attention to it. Just know if I'm saying arguments, I mean parameters, and if I say parameters, I mean arguments. Same difference. All right. Functions can also be defined with arguments. Those arguments are basically variables that can be used inside of the function. So here we have an argument called name that we can also use inside of the function. We'll go into that in just a bit. I want to see if you have an intuitive understanding of what we're talking about. So Sophia created the following function and called it with the argument Mega Man. What will be the output? All right, let's look at some common misconceptions. When this function is called, it will print the string literal hi, that is, whatever is in these quotation marks, is going to be concatenated with whatever the user enters as an argument. So when we talk about concatenation, this plus sign is the operator from concatenation in this context. And then that's going to, whatever the user types in for name, in this case, Mega Man, is going to come out concatenated right after that high. So how to read. How to find a function named say hi that takes in the argument name. When called, the function is going to print out hi concatenated with whatever the input is. Another check for understanding. Krista wants to create a function that prints the square of whatever the argument is. What code should go in the blank? So here is the solution to that code right here. If we want to print out the square of whatever our argument x is, we would say print x times x, because that's the definition of a square, x times itself. So going over lesson 10, you're going to complete the steps below 4 through 8. It's in Replit. It looks something like, oh man, I'm not even there no more. Don't treat me like this. As I was saying, something like this. Notice that I've updated it and I've commented out that first import so that 102 is still here. You're going to scroll down to where it says 331, lesson 10, and just follow along. First, you're going to create a function add that takes in x and y as arguments and prints x plus y. Then you're going to create a function cube that takes in z as an argument and prints z cubed. You're going to submit your URL in the Google Classroom. And then we are starting our APCSP Explore task again. I know that it has caused some issues in the past, but hopefully we've simplified it this time for you. So, in a remote Google Classroom, you're going to copy and paste what you have for the written response template just for section 2A. This will be assigned to a different assignment. It's going to be due on Wednesday. Whether or not you're in Code Combat or Blackbeard's Bootcamp, everyone has to do this. This is going to be graded. This is going to be for the actual exam. So if you look in the Google Classroom, you'll see it right here. 2A Explore task. All you need to do is open this document, and then it's going to bring you here. And then you're just going to copy and paste what you have. You don't need to work on it. You don't need to edit it if you don't want to. If you want to make it better, we'd appreciate that, but it is not necessary. All you have to do is copy, paste, and submit. Finally, as a reminder, make sure you're completing your Edpuzzle videos every time you are being graded on that. Also, make sure you are submitting for Code Combat the question of the day, and for Blackbeard's Bootcamp, your URL to your code. Thanks again. Plus Ultra.